Well, welcome. It's nice to be in conversation with you. I'm Electra Porzel. I'm the director of the Language of Consciousness Institute. And the first role I'm speaking to you from is that of a grandparent. When I was raising my kids, I really was looking at how they were as human beings. Were they compassionate? Were they caring? Did they give to others and care for others and themselves? Did they find work that would not only sustain them financially, but also be part of what they were passionate about? Both my kids found their path, found something that gave them joy, but also was something that could support them financially and their own children. So when my and I really didn't worry that society couldn't adjust, because it seemed like in the 70s, 80s, 90s that society was adjusting and moving forward to a new balance, a new compassion, a new attending to individual rights as well as group rights. Well, I can't count on that anymore. Um, in the recent years, we've seen that a lot of our institutions are failing, that they need to adjust to a new reality that is needed, that is coming in, a reality of unity where everyone's unique and essential selves are honored and supported, that we care for the least of us and we create institutions that serve the greater needs of the population instead of the needs of, let's say, the richest people in our world. And so I think of it as a grandparent. Yes, I do things with my grandchildren to give them what I can of my perspectives and my way of being with them. But more so, I look at how can I help create a better future for them and their children and their grandchildren. So I have started discussion groups. One of them is on Charles Einstein's new ideas. He presented them in a blog in January. And just each week we talk about what would it be like if that was true, this new story that he suggests. And if so, how would that change how humanity lived and the outcome for it? And that's been free. It's gonna, and if you're interested in that, well, that just go to our website, www.loc-institute, and go to the events page, institute.com, and go to the events page, and you can register for that. This month it's free. So come in, take a test, enjoy the conversations. The other one is my other conversation group is about SandTalk, a book by Tyson Yunkaporta. And he too suggests that the present institutions, the present reality that humanity is living in is not sustainable for the future. That if we want something better and more for our children, all the grandchildren, all the great grandchildren coming, we got to create something different. So I figure, well, why don't we start looking at what Mr. Yunkaporta suggests, which is possibly our indigenous ancestors knew better ways to work with the earth, with the land, with nature, and with each other in ways that we have been separated from and that possibly we can learn something from. So Mr. Yunkaporta has a heritage of Australian Aborigine, and he uses their practices and their culture to suggest as an alternative that we might look at adapting to our own ways and to create a sustainable future for all children in the coming generations. So it's an intriguing, if you have a chance to read it, read the book. If you want to, I'm having these discussions. We're going to do it chapter by chapter. That's how chock full of new ideas and new approaches that this book has. We're going to start on March 15th at 9 a.m. Pacific. Conversations last an hour to an hour and a half. people who write creation exercises will be writing them about the ideas that are in the books. The rest of you, if you want to learn how to do it, I'll teach you how to write the creation exercises. And if not, you're there for a discussion. What would it look like if we adapted some of these practices? How would our lives change? How would society change if a lot of people practiced them? These other ways of being with the land, being with each other, and being with nature. We got to figure out something. And this is my first step, is to let's be in conversation. Conversation that means we listen until the listening is done. There's a term in the Australian, in the book called yarning, which means listening until the listening and the sharing is done. And we'll investigate it and we'll play with it as a concept that we can hear each other in a way that a lot of people aren't hearing each other anymore. So what I wanted to do was to read to you a book review by a gal named Elke Power, who is in a Reading Monthly is the group that she's with. But I thought it might give you a better idea of, or another idea of this book, and not just my opinion. Here it is. Tyson Yunkaporta's SandTalk is an extraordinary reading experience. It's both philosophical and practical, and underpinned by a compassionate yet realistic humanity. At the core of SandTalk is a deep respect for indigenous knowledge, to which long-term thinking is fundamental. As Yunkaporta demonstrates, a central principle of the indigenous knowledge and learning paradigms is looking back and recognizing patterns from the past, then learning from them. That's an extreme simplification due to the length of this review. But as Yunkaporta convincingly argues, it is this kind and caliber of thinking that is profoundly lacking in many societies today, including in Australia. And the damage wrought upon our world in its absence is abundantly evident. Yunkaporta writes with a very clear-eyed sense of his own perspectives, flaws, and past failures. But as an academic, an artist, and much more besides, language is important to him. Like many of Australia's first peoples, he has a complex identity and history. And he writes, I often don't get to decide what I call myself. Throughout SandTalk, he carefully shares stories of life-changing yarns, a term he defines precisely early on with people he has met on his extensive research travels. SandTalk is an engaging and singular introduction to the elements of indigenous knowledge, thinking, and methods of communication that Yunkaporta is in a position to share. It's an opportunity to recognize these concepts and their history, and a generous invitation to incorporate these methods into non-indigenous thinking for the benefit of all. It's an unforgettable book with ideas and inspiring in its conviction in the human capacity for personal change and growth. Open it to any page, read and enjoy. You'll never think about your hands, Dante, Trump, or emos the same way again. If you're interested in pursuing this, first of all, buy the book. I have an audio version, and I have a Kindle version, and I have a paper version. And I finally bought the paper version because I wanted to underline all the phrases and all the ideas specifically for our discussion group. So our discussion group is going to start on March 15th at 9 a.m. Pacific. It's a Zoom call. The calls will last 60 to 90 minutes. We're going to discuss all of this. How we are connected to the earth now different than how our ancestors were connected? How are we connected to each other different than how they connected? if we adapted some version of what they had done, how might that change our own personal lives? And how might it change society if enough people adopted it? Certainly, because with the Conscious Language of Consciousness Institute, people will be writing their creation exercises. If you've never written one, I can teach you how to do that. And that will assist you in diving deeper into this practice of who you are, who you came to be, and how you can help other people, our children, our grandchildren, all the generations coming, to discover who they are and who they came to be in a supportive environment where the world honors the unique and essential being of each person, no matter the color of their skin or the religion they choose to practice. Anyway, join me. Again, go to our website, www.loc-institute.com. Go to our events page and you can register there. And the link is also in the article coming with the YouTube. Thank you so much for spending time with me, and I hope you have a loving and nutritious, nurturing day.